106.5 The Wolf and Hollywood Casino presents Howlin' at Hollywood with George Burge, Saturday, September 18th. Our Howlin' series is back and we can't wait. This is a free show for 21 and over. Join us outside and under the stars with live country music from George Burge at Hollywood Casino. It's Howlin' at Hollywood. Brought to you by Lynch Real Estate, Saturday, September 18th. For more info, go to HollywoodCasinoKansas.com. You must be 21.
Capital Federal, a local bank rooted in tradition since 1893. With a long-standing commitment to our communities, a sense of gratitude for each customer, and a dedicated team of employees, CapFed remains focused on you. It always starts with community, customers, employees. Capital Federal. True blue for over 125 years. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Sports Radio 610 presents Payne and Pendergast, presented by Allied Home Security.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Happy Tuesday to all of you. Nice to be with you. Some of you probably back in your cars after a long weekend. Hope you had a good long weekend. We are here for you today. It's a Texans Ticket Tuesday. You got a chance to win Texans tickets to this Sunday's game, 45 past each hour as we welcome you in. I am Sean Pendergast. He is original Houston Texan Seth Payne. Good morning, Seth.
Good morning. I hope everybody's fat and happy. We have Ross Tucker on in a couple hours, and he said he gained 9 pounds on Labor Day. He woke up weighing 252, 252, I think, on Sunday morning, and yesterday morning he woke up at 261. That's about right.
That's inspired right there. That's some eating. That
it's
is
eating, but the water you retain from alcohol and eating a bunch of hot dogs, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. The good news is that kind of weight goes quickly if you just get in and sweat a little bit. You know what I mean?
Three good days of being good with your diet and sweating some. It melts right out.
Right back on track. All right, so it's game week. Week one of the NFL season is here. Week one of the college season is totally in the books. So we'll get to plenty of that today with you. The big news yesterday, this was the top national headline yesterday all day long.
Yeah, I was
all day long.
It was kind of cool.
It's still it's still like 7th on the bullet points on ESPN's front page. Now, let's harken back. This was just last week. Before we go to yesterday's sound cut from David Culley, let's remember that it was last week going into the weekend, I think it was on Thursday or Friday in David Culley's media availability, that he was asked about the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans. Here's what he had to say.
We haven't indicated to anybody that's a starter right now. You know, we've gone through this thing with competition-wise. Obviously, next week when we bring them back in here on Monday, that we'll say who's who. But at that point, again, we've not told anyone that there's a starter right now.
All right, so they went into the weekend, had not named a starter yet, and then yesterday, out of nowhere, here was, I believe, Mark Berman asking David Culley, not about quarterback, just general question about naming starters.
David, you have stayed away from saying who's starting, who's not starting during camp. When will you feel comfortable this week in talking about starters and that kind of thing?
Well, Tyrod Taylor will start for us at quarterback, for sure.
You ready to disclose any other starter?
No.
I didn't expect you to go that far. I just, when you were out of that sort of thing.
No. I know that's the one everybody's always wondering. It's come up before, but he will start for us on Sunday.
All right, so there you go.
You know what I do appreciate? I appreciate that Culley didn't say it in kind of a smart-ass way of, like, everybody knows that he's starting. You know,
who would have done that?
Maybe some other coaches might have somehow tried to blame the victims in all of this. The victims, of course, being us.
Yeah.
But that somehow somehow you guys are so stupid for wanting to know who the starting quarterback is. Yeah. Of course, it's going to be Tyrod. Yeah.
Yeah. So he just casually like, hey, when are you going to name the starter sometime soon? Well, Tyrod Taylor is going to start. Okay. Oh,
I was honestly, and I was kind of caught off guard by the fact that every time I went to ESPN, you know, like looking for what I might have missed and everything, that was one of the top stories. And I guess maybe it's consistent with how the national media has treated this Deshaun Watson story. They almost seem afraid to touch it for whatever reason, and everybody just kind of checks in on it every now and then. Mm-hmm. And this would be the next milestone where I think a lot of people around the country realized, oh, yeah, okay, so this is really happening. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor, and now we'll go back to our normal lives.
Yeah, well, I mean, this does a couple things. One, it closes the book on anybody who was holding out hope that Deshaun Watson was going to start week 1 for this team, because there were still people holding out hope that that was going to happen. I poured one out for Larry and Stafford yesterday when David Culley announced that bit of news. So that's number one. Number two, Seth, this will probably trigger the folks covering this nationally, as you just pointed out, to really start to go, okay, well, why didn't they just ask Deshaun Watson? Why is he not just why are they not telling him to take the field and be the starter on Sunday?
Right. Which, of course, there are, these are all reasonable questions.
Of course
there are complex answers to all of this. Sean, yesterday I went to Battle Red blog because they do a good job of putting on links to a lot of stories. Sometimes they'll have stories on there that I missed. And they had linked to a story in the New York Times, which was acting like they were breaking news just a couple days ago that 10 women had filed complaints with the Houston Police Department. And it's one of those things where I was alone in my house, but I'm looking around like, what am I taking crazy pills here? This has been known for a couple of weeks already. It feels like 3 weeks already by now. But again, nationally, people just have not been paying attention, and it's the strangest thing. 22 women have filed sexual assault lawsuits versus Deshaun Watson. 10 women have filed complaints. The FBI is involved, and yet somehow it's remained largely a local story. It's just dumbfounding. I don't get it. I don't get it. So as far as the question, because Ross Tucker on his podcast yesterday asked Joel Corey this same thing. How come, and this is a question that I had at one point, why don't the Texans just tell Deshaun that, hey, it's time for you to play, you're our starter, and then that way it would force Deshaun Watson's hand in it. There's 3 simple answers to that. One is that they want to trade him, and if they told him as a way of maybe trying to get out of paying his salary, hey, you're the starter, then they can't risk, because they want to trade him, they can't risk him taking them up on it. Like, there's a danger that he might say yes. So if we say, hey, you're our starter, and he says yes, they don't really want him to play right now because they want to trade him. 2, there's the whole haze of these 22 sexual assault lawsuits. There's 10 women who have filed complaints with the HPD, and we don't know for sure that even without a trade request, the Texans would want to actually play him or not. Like, they might actually put him on the shelf anyway. And 3, I guess there's an established precedent by Deshaun Watson's agent with one of his other clients, Jalen Ramsey, that when Jalen Ramsey didn't want to play, he all of a sudden got a mysterious back ailment.
Yeah.
And then you end up in an even more complex situation where you're really, if you're the Texans, you're kind of hoping and waiting for some team that's got playoff hopes of losing their starting quarterback. And some team being desperate enough to say, you know what? Public relations be damned. We want Deshaun Watson in here right now, and maybe it's a team that Deshaun Watson wants to go to. So
yeah.
Those are 3 of, like, I would say there's 3 or 4 more. So 3 of the 5 or 6 reasons that the Texans don't just say, hey, you're our starting quarterback.
I think what's interesting, and we can examine this more as the show goes on, the 2 biggest ones are the first 2 that you said. 1, he wants a trade, and they probably don't want him to get injured because they want to trade him. And 2, he's got this whole legal situation going on. The interesting thing, and we don't know what the answer to this would be, is if he only had one of those 2 things going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if he had just if all he had done was demand a trade, but they hadn't found a suitable offer yet for him, would they be playing him? Or B, if he were happy here, but he had all the lawsuits going on, would they be playing him? It's easy to not play him now because there's multiple reasons to put him on the shelf, and they don't have to attribute it to one or the other.
And you know, Sean, as I was listening to Ross Tucker and Joel, what I'm blanking on his name.
Joel Corey. Salary cap, former agent, salary cap expert. Yeah.
As I'm listening to him to have this discussion, you know, I was actually riding in the car. I was driving my nephew somewhere, and my nephew's a young man, but kind of a casual sports fan. And I'm trying to kind of gauge, like, if this is interesting to most people, and I don't think it is. I think that's why it's just too complex.
Yeah.
It's like to make a this is an inappropriate analogy because it's going from the fake world of sports to the very real world. But I would say, like, the situation in Syria, politically, militarily, diplomatically, all that stuff. It is so complex that for the most part, people just say, I have no idea what's going on here. And they don't even want to try to approach it because there's so many different factions and agreements and people going back on their word and all that stuff. And I feel like this is a similar type situation with Deshaun Watson, where one of the reasons it hasn't gained traction nationally is it is so complex that nobody has the energy or the inclination to try to dive into all of it.
All right. There's more Texans news that we have to dig into, and it was something that we pointed out league-wide as a possibility yesterday that the Texans are now dealing with on their front step. The Astros also win last night 11-2 over the Seattle Mariners. But is this something the Texans need to be concerned about as Week 1 Sunday approaches? That's next.
106.5 The Wolf and Hollywood Casino presents Howlin' at Hollywood with George Burge, Saturday, September 18th. Our Howlin' series is back and we can't wait. This is a free show for 21 and over. Join us outside and under the stars with live country music from George Burge at Hollywood Casino. It's Howlin' at Hollywood. Brought to you by Lynch Real Estate, Saturday, September 18th. For more info, go to HollywoodCasinoKansas.com. You must be 21.
Red Eddie. Hey fans, every Monday during football season, get KFC Red Monday Rewards. Buy a finger-licking good Kentucky Fried Chicken sandwich and get one free. And if you're looking for a great way to feed the whole family or tailgating crew, pick up a KFC bucket meal. Enjoy freshly prepared original recipe, extra crispy or chicken tenders, plus all the home-style sides you need. It's made exactly how it should be, by chicken people, not burger people. Monday just got a lot better. Buy one, get one free chicken sandwiches. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Have you been thinking about purchasing a new or used car? Well, now is a great time with financing through Mazuma Credit Union and their competitive rates. Check out Mazuma.org/auto and let Mazuma Credit Union help you find the car of your dreams. Federally insured by NCUA.
Sports Radio 610 presents Payne and Pendergast.
All right, so we were talking yesterday. Chris Mortensen of ESPN had said that there was a lot of concern, conversations he had private conversations with coaches and executives around the NFL, that there was a lot of concern yesterday about what the COVID test results would look like with players. A lot of players having been gone over the weekend, visiting their various alma maters and going to football games and being around crowds and things like that. Would there be a spike in COVID cases heading into week 1 of the season? I didn't get the sense that that was the case yesterday. I was watching pretty closely all the newsbreakers in the NFL, and there were very few, at least far fewer than I thought there would be, players getting put on the COVID reserve list. The Texans had one player get put on the COVID reserve list yesterday, and it was Charlie Heck, who is on track to be their starting right tackle. According to the NFL personnel notice, this is Mark Berman tweeting this from Fox 26, right tackle Charlie Heck was placed on the reserve COVID-19 list after testing positive, but since Heck is vaccinated, he could still be available to play in Sunday's game if he tests negative twice in between now and then. So it was first reported that he was just a close contact, Seth, which would have meant just 2 negative tests in 24 hours and you're back on the field. I guess it could technically it could still be 2 negative tests in 24 hours. I guess just he needs to test negative twice before he can be activated from the list, because Charlie Heck is indeed vaccinated. He's one of the few in that offensive line room that's vaccinated. Remember you had Laramie get put on the COVID list.
Oh, yeah.
Titus Howard get put on the COVID list, and Roderick Johnson get put on the COVID list.
Well, Tunsil, I thought it wasn't clear whether Tunsil was vaccinated or not because he actually had COVID. So you don't know the more restrictive policies. I don't know. We knew that some of them were on the list and because they just were close contacts. And if you're on the close contact list and you're out at least 5 days, it's because you're unvaccinated. Yeah. But with Tunsil, the timeline appears that he actually had COVID, right?
Yes, he was positive for COVID.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So, regardless.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But I just don't want to mess with anybody's privacy or anything.
Oh, gotcha.
I know it's not a HIPAA violation, but it's just I
Charlie
never know
Heck.
what.
I'll keep it focused on Charlie Heck. Charlie Heck, you're starting.
I guess I just wanted to be clear because you said he was one of the few guys who are vaccinated.
I was just being sarcastic.
Yeah. Okay. I get all. Yeah,
boy, the gravitas right now.
The medical stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to piss anybody off.
Yeah.
and understandably so.
Yeah.
So, if he tests negative twice, I guess the question would be, is there any data on, like, okay, vaccinated people are much less likely to have the severe symptoms, but do they recover more quickly? Do we have any kind of data on that? I'm crossing my fingers that maybe the vaccinated people recover more quickly. The Texans were a little bit dodgy yesterday, or at least tried to be dodgy, about whether or not Marcus Cannon might start at right tackle.
Yeah, well, he doesn't seem ready to start at right tackle. You know what I mean? Like, David Culley did his press conference. We should point this out. He did his press conference yesterday before this Charlie Heck news came out. So nobody could really ask questions of like, okay, Charlie's on the COVID list. How's Marcus Cannon? It was more just like, hey, how's Marcus Cannon doing? You know what I mean? Like, so, and it didn't sound like from David Culley's answer, like he's limited in practice. I don't know if I want my right tackle to be somebody who's been limited in practice this week.
If Charlie Heck,
who hasn't played in 2 years.
Right, and if Charlie Heck, it's kind of a big deal, especially going against, they've got Josh Allen, who's a stud young pass rusher there in Jacksonville. You guys remember a few years ago, a couple weeks after Harvey was over, when Jacksonville came into town and they got, how many sacks? Was it 10 sacks
10
versus
sacks,
the Texans?
Yeah.
10 sacks versus the Texans. I don't need a replay of that disaster, okay? I trust that Tyrod Taylor would probably fare better than Tom Savage, but not much better given that kind of an assault. So Marcus Cannon coming back after not having played since 2019 and only having a week of practice, I don't know if I feel good about that. I mean, if it ends up being Garen Shepard in there, I suppose.
Garen Christian, yeah.
Excuse me, Garen Christian, then it could be ugly. It just could be. It might be ugly with Charlie Heck. We don't know. We haven't really seen him for a full game against a stud like Josh Allen, but hopefully we'll find out if he's healthy enough.
Is the solution just to move Titus Howard back to right tackle if Charlie Heck can't go?
Yeah, I think that probably makes the most sense. I long term, I just want Titus Howard to be able to settle in and start making strides there. But that probably makes the most sense because then you could have Sharping and McCray start at the guard positions and in terms of just doing the least damage. And this Texans team so far, their methodology seems to be, hey, we're not trying to make the playoffs, but we're trying not to suck so hard that we make permanent and irreparable damages to the culture around here. That makes the most sense. Get your 5 guys with the most experience out there, and no matter what position they're playing, just try to batten the hatches.
Titus Howard's been working at left guard the entire training camp. Is moving back over to right tackle is it like riding a bike, just sliding back over there, or is? I mean, it's obviously different, but how quickly? Yeah. How quick? Especially because you're switching sides of the line from left to right. How quickly does the muscle memory kick in for somebody like that, do you think? I
have no idea. I think some people can handle it better than others, and you just don't know until you do it. It's not ideal, especially if you're trying to learn something new, which is playing left guard, and you've spent your whole training camp kind of focusing probably on almost forgetting some of the things you do at right tackle. Is it like riding a bike? It's like riding a bike, but you're going to, you know what it is, Sean? If you're like, okay, you're going from riding a BMX back over to riding a 10-speed, but by the way, we moved all the shifting levers from one side to the other.
It's a good analogy.
So it's like if you're driving in England, and then all of a sudden, and you spend 2 months trying to learn how to drive in England, and then all of a sudden you flip back over to the other side. The problem is that it's not like Titus Howard had mastered his craft at right tackle yet either. So no, it's not ideal. It doesn't make me feel good about week 1 versus the Jaguars.
No, well, on top of that, I mean, Laramie Tunsil, as we pointed out earlier in this segment, is still coming back from testing positive for COVID, and this seems like a longer. This feels like a comeback from COVID where Laramie Tunsil might not have been feeling so well with all this. Here's David Culley on the latest with Laramie Tunsil.
Well, I'm hoping that, his stamina is a lot better. Obviously, he's came off of the COVID, and he's been practicing. He practiced with us all last week. I expect him to be better this week than they were last week, and hopefully he'll be ready to go.
I'm more nervous about this, Seth, than I am the Charlie Heck thing. I mean, look, Charlie Heck he's a vaccinated player who tested positive for COVID. He'll be back on the field here at some point. feeling fine. Laramie Tunsil tested positive for COVID, and David Culley is talking about him getting his endurance back, and he's not been able to get on the field. He's not been able to practice, and Laramie Tunsil might be your best player. And he plays left tackle, which is protecting the blind side of your quarterback. With Laramie Tunsil, this feels like something that even with him back on the field, the way it's being portrayed or delivered, I guess, that sort of news, maybe I'm off base on this. I have a level of concern that this is something that's going to affect Laramie Tunsil's play to some degree longer than just week one. Like Charlie Heck, I feel like this is something that will be put in the rearview mirror quickly when he tests negative twice for COVID. With Laramie Tunsil, I'm now worried that this is something that's going to affect his level of play.
That's where, Myles Garrett said that last year, that after he came back from COVID, it took him a while to have his legs back. I've heard coaches toss around the term COVID legs. We heard a few guys mention that last year with a couple of players. And that is a concern. I guess when it comes to just strictly the risk analysis of it, if you're a football player, it just seems to me, both anecdotally and then, just extrapolating from all the data, whatever risks you're worried about with the vaccine, in terms of which, I don't want to get into that whole thing, but as far as whatever your opinion is about the long-term risks, whatever, for the short-term purposes of being an actual football player and actually making money and playing football well, the benefits of getting a vaccine far outweigh any of the other considerations, given that we know there are guys that have just had a hard time coming back from it. Just strictly from a performance side. I'm not even getting into any of the actual normal real-world health concerns. And as far as the thing with Tunsil, a few people pointing out, hey, if you have the vaccine, you recover more quickly. The symptoms aren't as severe. Yeah, I know that. I just want to know if there's data showing that you actually test negative faster, too.
Right.
Do you actually, yes, the symptoms are less severe, but do you get rid of all the virus out of your body fast enough to get back and play football sooner? That's what I care about. I'm being pragmatic about you people with your concern. Listen, I don't give a damn about life, death, freedom, anything like that. I'm all about the football, baby.
That's right.
All right?
That's right.
And I don't care which side of the issue you're on. Stop bothering me with all of these real-world concerns. I'm concerned about football.
I like Charlie Heck just fine, and I want him to feel comfortable physically, but I need him back on the football field more than anything else.
Yeah. I don't.
And I'll tell him that to his face.
Listen, everybody. This is what I tell guys. All right, listen. What are you playing this game for your health? You're going to tell me about your long-term concerns about the vaccine. You're playing football for a living.
Right.
Nothing about this is healthy. Get back out on the damn field, damn it. Take the needle, you punk.
It's Texans Ticket Tuesday.
You got a bum knee? You stick a needle in it. You got a virus? You stick a needle in that. Yeah.
We need to remind you we're giving away a pair of Texans Jags tickets every hour. Noon kickoff this Sunday. Listen for the cue to call in the next segment. This is your first chance to win coming up here, 6:45, between 6:45 and the top of the hour. Be caller number 5, win a pair of tickets. You will instantly qualify to be upgraded to front row seats in the bullpen. Your chance to win Texans Jags tickets every hour today till 6 o'clock tonight. It's Texans Ticket Tuesday. You can still get tickets, by the way, too. HoustonTexans.com/tickets. I keep saying Houston Tickets. HoustonTexans.com/tickets. Ross Tucker's going to join us, by the way, at the bottom of the next hour. About an hour from now, he joins us. He's our Odyssey insider. Insider calls presented by BetQL. BetQL here to help us all make better bets through real proven analysis. Bet smarter and beat the books. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today. Is last night's effort from one Astro going to be good enough in October? That's next.
106.5 The Wolf and Hollywood Casino presents Howlin' at Hollywood with George Burge, Saturday, September 18th. Our Howlin' series is back and we can't wait. This is a free show for 21 and over. Join us outside and under the stars with live country music from George Burge at Hollywood Casino. It's Howlin' at Hollywood. Brought to you by Lynch Real Estate, Saturday, September 18th. For more info, go to HollywoodCasinoKansas.com. You must be 21.
Get your football fix with Jim Beam and Maker's Mark. Score tickets to watch Kansas City take on Buffalo October 10th, plus a Jim Beam and Maker's Mark swag pack. All you have to do is stop in at your local Missouri Jim Beam and Maker's Mark retailer and get a text code to enter. While you're there, pick up some Jim Beam bourbon and their new highball cans or Maker's Mark bourbon to enjoy while you cheer on your favorite team. For your chance at KC tickets and an awesome collectible swag pack, log on to 1065thewolf.com to find a retailer near you. Must be 21 to enter.
Having unexpected car trouble or just in a car accident? You need Jay's Southland Tow Service. They have 20 years of experience and service the KC metro area. They specialize in light, medium, and heavy duty, also in commercial transport and construction equipment. Keep this number handy, 816-779-4TOW, or go to southlandtow.com. Use the tow service trusted by most local police departments, Jay's Southland Tow. There's nothing they can't do, so be in the know and use Jay's Southland Tow.
Live from the Twin Peaks studios, Sports Radio 610 presents Payne and Pendergast.
All right, reminder, we're giving away Texans tickets a little later on this segment, sometime between 6:45 and the top of the hour. The first round of Texans tickets we're giving away here on a Texans Ticket Tuesday on Sports Radio 610. The Astros beat the Mariners last night 11-2. That was good because the Mariners are now the team that's in second place in the AL West. The Astros lead is now 5.5 games. 2 more games to go against the Mariners at home. It feels like they play the Mariners every week. Last night was easy. They scored 6 in the second and then never looked back. 11-2 the final. Lance McCullers, solid enough. 6 innings, 2 earned runs. A lot of guys on base. Worked out of trouble. Here's Dusty Baker on Lance McCullers' performance last night.
It was big. He had the bases loaded and came out there with no runs. And then he settled down in the mid-innings, but his pitch count was rather high. But, when you face teams back-to-back, they know you and you know them. And then it's a matter of the adjustments that you make, from start to start. And, he was exceptional once he settled down. And like I said, he got out of some jams that were created, via the walk, because they usually don't hit him. And so, it was big for him. We really needed this game.
All right, so that was Dusty Baker on Lance McCullers. Yeah, they needed that game. That was good. You got a little breathing room. The Mariners win that game. It's down to 3.5 games, the lead, and the Mariners still have 2 left this week against you. You maybe start to tighten up a little bit. I guess, Seth, with Lance, and it's not just last night, it's by and large how Lance has performed this year. He's been good. He's not been great. He's been good. The problem is, as I've pointed out many times over the last couple weeks, maybe I'm beating a dead horse, but there's no great in this rotation right now, and Lance is the guy with the best stuff. I think Lance is the guy who, if a playoff series were to start this week, especially if Game 1 were at home, where Lance pitches really, really well, McCullers is probably your Game 1 starter in that series. I look at an effort like last night, and yeah, it's good enough to beat the Mariners when you score 11 runs in a regular season game in early September. I look at a performance like last night, and last night is kind of what Lance has been this year. A lot of pitches early in the game, a lot of guys on base, working out of trouble. Good thing he's got the strikeout pitches. He's got those out pitches working. He struck out, I think, 7 last night in 6 innings, so that was good. I just wonder when you start to routinely play great teams in the postseason, which you will, right off the bat. I mean, you're probably going to be playing the White Sox right off the bat. That's a really good baseball team with good starting pitching. If this is what Lance McCullers is, and the statistics say this is kind of what he is what he was last night, is that good enough in October for your number 1 starter?
Right. Well, I mean, there's nothing. If there were a defined number 1, then no, it wouldn't be good enough. But there's no defined number 1. I think there's something to be said for just honestly his persona and his mentality and just being kind of an attack dog type of figure. I think that's a good way to start out a series, and I think to go in and not be intimidated, to just remember all the emotion and to remember all the grit. And for a guy that has a ton of playoff experience by now, I feel good about having him there. Given an imperfect set of solutions, Greinke has not been awesome as the first guy out in a series. It's a small sample size, but it almost goes above and beyond any actual pitching metrics at this point. It's all about just the grit of whoever you're throwing out there first and the experience. So, as Brandy pointed out last night, Lance is way too clean cut to be as nasty as he is. That's one of the beautiful things about Lance McCullers is His hygiene is immaculate, but he plays like a guy who hasn't shaved or showered or bathed in like 3 weeks.
I don't know. You think he's immaculate? He's got that long hair now, and he's got the
but it's long
facial hair.
Yeah, but his facial hair is perfectly groomed.
Yeah,
go ahead and find me a picture of Lance McCullers with a grungy beard.
Yeah,
even in the playoffs, he's always very well put together. The thing about last night that was incredible was how much Lance McCullers was aided by the Gold Glove caliber performance of left fielder Yordan Alvarez.
Is that your campaign? That's the hill you're going to go die on now? Yordan Alvarez for the Gold Glove in left field.
Yordan went up and dapped up Josh Reddick, who was sitting down right near in the first row behind the mesh there, right behind the on-deck circle, or between the on-deck circle and home base.
Mm-hmm.
Yordan dapped up Josh Reddick, and I think that was a little bit of the magic that occurred last night.
Like in the Green Mile when John Coffey grabs the hand of Tom Hanks and he gives him the powers that he had?
Yes.
Same exact thing.
Okay, so there was one play, Yordan was careening towards that left corner wall at Minute Maid Park, made a beautiful catch there, and Todd Callis very quickly and wittily said the wall's still standing. So he made that, and then a couple innings later, he guns out a bro at second base who decided he was going to try to run on the big lumberjack.
Mm-hmm.
No, not on Yordan. You don't run on Yordan. No. And he gunned him down at second. Altuve made a great tag. So, which luckily they kept playing and nobody challenged it because I don't know, it might have been a little dicey.
Yeah,
so,
I remember that play. Yeah, the guy might have gotten his hand in there on the base.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. I don't think it would have gotten overturned because I don't think you could have proven that Altuve didn't touch him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's very possible that Altuve did not touch him.
Yeah.
So. Yordan. You know what? Honestly, Sean, I feel kind of dirty and ashamed of myself for ever having suggested that Yordan should learn how to play first base. I say throw first base out the window. This guy's this damn guy's ready. This is going to be Ted Williams in left field out there for the Astros.
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. If they get to the World Series, there's going to be at least a couple of games where you got to make some decisions that you're going to have to make some decisions on keeping Yordan's bat in the lineup by putting him in the field. You know what I mean? Like I've said this all along. Yordan Alvarez is the biggest game wrecker in this lineup. I don't know that he's the best pure hitter. That might be Michael Brantley. But he is the biggest game wrecker in this line. It's why he bats cleanup. And it's why he and Altuve's never going to move from leadoff. I don't know if it's because he deserves necessarily to be leadoff, but he's Altuve. He's their leadoff hitter. He was nice last night. He had a couple doubles last night. Yordan Alvarez is a fixture in the middle of that lineup as long as he's healthy. So there will be decisions to make. That's why. I mean, you're pointing out that pointing out his adequacy in the field, I think, is an appropriate thing because when you play in a National League ballpark, and I don't feel like I'm putting the cart ahead of the horse, by the way, because the Astros are the favorite to win the American League right now in Vegas. You're going to have to make a decision. Do we do the Alvarez in left, Brantley in right, and Kyle Tucker in center outfield, which would scare the living bejesus out of me with every fly ball, especially if it's a big ballpark. If it's Chavez Ravine or something like that, and you got those three guys patrolling all out of position. Michael Brantley in right field, out of position. Kyle Tucker in center field, out of position. Yordan Alvarez in left field. His position's on the bench waiting to hit every day. That would be nerve-wracking, but, look, against good teams, you got to have all your guns out there. I guess, just to go back to Lance, Seth, I agree with everything that you said about his mental makeup and his psychological makeup. That's indisputable. Like, he is a bulldog. I don't feel like Lance is going to melt in the moment or anything like that, like I do some of the pitchers in the starting rotation. He just makes me nervous. Like, his MO, from purely a pitching standpoint, he's operated with a lot of traffic on the bases this year. You know what I mean? Like that, he makes me nervous. That's all.
Yeah.
He's an imperfect solution at the top of the rotation. He might be fine, and his stuff is electric, but he just makes me a little bit nervous.
Right, but you're spoiled. Like, honestly,
yes.
all of us are spoiled by having had alternately historical pitching or historical hitting in several of these last ALCS runs and World Series runs. And this year's team right now, in a lot of ways, it feels more like 2017, where August was kind of dicey and September was a little bit uncomfortable too. You're not going to have the shot in the arm that was a Justin Verlander.
No, you're not.
Obviously.
That's what makes me nervous, damn it.
But there's a shot in the arm that could be an Urquidy at least. Urquidy maybe a little bit of a booster shot in the arm, depending on what the CDC allows at this point. And there you have it. It's going to be a grittier way to win. But for the same reason that in 2019 I kept being the annoying one to remind everybody, hey, it doesn't matter if you're the quote-unquote best team in baseball. It's still really hard to win a World Series.
Yeah.
It's not – no matter how good you are, you're still not favored versus the field to win a World Series. It takes a lot of luck. 2017 took a lot of gutsy, incredible, improbable plays to win that World Series. But likewise – that's the thing you got to remind yourself when you're not necessarily the absolute favorite or the most dominating team, that it still takes those other teams a lot of luck to knock you off too. And that's where I think the playoff experience matters. And proven players like Correa in the playoffs are gonna Correa. I'll guarantee you this, Sean. I know we're talking about pitching,
yes,
but a guy like Correa will shine while one other star player on an opposing team wilts.
Yes.
And that's just a fact of life in my mind at this moment. I might have more faith in Correa in the playoffs than I have in any other human being in any other situation in life.
All of them, Seth. All of the guys. Now, it's not just Correa. It's Altuve. It's Bregman. It's Uriel. It's all the guys who've been there and done that. Brantley for this team before. Like, I'm with you on that. When Altuve goes through a stretch where he's 4 for 31. And it gets pointed out repeatedly on the broadcast, it just sails right over my head because I feel like once October hits, Altuve's going to hit. He's going to come up big in his requisite number of times that we expect him to come up big. Correa, perfect example. You're right. Same thing. That's why I'm not bringing it up. I'm not nervous about the hitting. I'm not nervous about the hitters. When the hitters weren't hitting, I was nervous about them not hitting to the point that they were going to cough up the lead in the American League West and have to play in a wild card game. You know what I mean? When October kicks in, and they're playing in the divisional series, they'll hit. I'm just concerned about I'm concerned about the lack of two automatics at the top of the road. You're right. I've been spoiled. There's no question. I don't adapt to poverty well, and I know this is not poverty. I'm moving from like River Oaks to a really nice suburb with a swimming pool in my backyard, but. But I miss my gigantic 2,000 square foot man cave in River Oaks.
Right,
is
but
Justin
also,
Verlander.
okay, just remember though too, back before we got spoiled in 2017, it's not like you went into the playoffs thinking, well, hey, at least we got Charlie Morton in our back pocket to act as a piggyback starter. It just wasn't. That was Charlie Morton being a hero in the playoffs. So the same way right now, man, nobody feels good about Odorizzi. And it's not so simple to just say, like, yeah, but maybe if he comes in relief, then he'll be all right. Of course you don't feel that good about it. But you know that it's capable. You're capable of it happening. Luis Garcia, do we want to stretch him out somehow in the playoffs now that you don't have to worry about his pitch count as much? I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I know one thing.
What?
If you stretch him out and it doesn't work out, then poor old Dusty Baker's going to get a whole lot of heat for it.
He will. Actually, you know what? The thing that you could have pointed out to me there that would have calmed me down, that now calms me down when I remember, is Justin Verlander. Not good in the World Series that year.
He still has yet to have a World Series win.
That's right.
Sean.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so now I feel a little bit better about that now.
That's no. What I'm telling you is you shouldn't feel good. You should feel nervous, but know that that's part and normal of being a sports fan. It's better to feel this way than to feel irrationally and unjustifiably cocky going into the 2019 playoffs.
To be clear,
where you feel like because usually the team with the most wins doesn't actually win the World Series. It's not just a fact of life. But yet I think people set themselves up for disappointment. Now the way the World Series went also made it even worse because it after the first two wins it felt like there was no way in hell that it was ever going to yeah.
To be clear. Didn't say I felt good. Said I felt a little better. I'm still nervous as hell. But the Verlander thing in 2017 that makes me that's a nice little painkiller that I can take that'll keep me okay for the next 15 minutes. Is TJ Watt going to miss games? Oh, by the way, be listening here. We're going to be giving away a couple Texans tickets imminently, so don't go anywhere. Stay in your seats. We're going to be giving away Texans tickets. Our first set. TJ Watt, I don't know if people in Houston are following this at all. J.J. Watt's younger brother, TJ Watt, who is the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. Seth, last I checked, you actually have to play to win Defensive Player of the Year. Is T.J. Watt going to miss games? Do you think he's a
Watt,
hold-in right now for the Steelers in a serious contract dispute?
What injury is he faking to be a hold-in?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I think that it's almost like, so for everybody, when we use the term hold-in, it's when the new CBA makes it really hard for players to hold out, very prohibitive. So what players have taken to doing, like Dwayne Brown up in Seattle or T.J. Watt in Pittsburgh, is they'll report, but they're going to withhold their services. And usually it's with some vague soft tissue injury that you couldn't verify on an MRI, but there they are, unavailable, but yet unfined.
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm looking, Seth, I Googled T.J. Watt injury, and it doesn't give you anything. It just says he's not practicing. That's all. Like, it doesn't, because you're right. Like, if it were an ankle or if it were a rib or if it were a knee, it would say T.J. Watt still nursing hamstring or knee or ankle or whatever it is.
Yeah, and this is like he's under contract on his rookie deal still.
Yep.
He's expecting a contract extension at some point. But the Steelers are notoriously stubborn about stuff like this. And Antonio Brown really, I think, hardened their resolve, because the Steelers gave Antonio Brown a very, very, very nice extension, as many of you recall. And then many of you will recall also that Antonio Brown then forced his way out of Pittsburgh by acting like an absolute lunatic. And I feel like the Steelers have probably had a kind of a belt tightening where they say, all right, we got to get back to our old ways and do what the Steelers did for decades and decades. And well, we're not going to be upset if somebody like Hines Ward is upset. We won't be upset if somebody like T.J. Watt is upset. We're not going to move off of our position. But this has gotten to be a pretty big staring match here.
Yeah, I mean, it's with one of the best players in football. It's crazy. You had told us Carnell Lake story at one point about the seat. Carnell Lake, your teammate in Jacksonville.
Oh, well, I think that a lot of times people have this perception that, like, oh, yeah, everybody loves playing in Pittsburgh, and because they're such a good organization, and they tend to have, like, pretty cool dudes playing for them, I think. They scout pretty well to where they have, like blue-collar, like James Harrison-type guys that you want on your football team. But I remember, so Brandy, my wife, had lived in Pittsburgh for a long time. She was a Steelers fan, or she was when she lived there. And one time we were at a charity dinner, and we were sitting next to Carnell Lake, who was a longtime defensive back for the Steelers. And, you know, Brandy was a dyed-in-the-wool Steelers fan and thought that Bill Cowher could do no wrong. It was just, you know, it was just a God's gift to football. And she said something like, so what was it like playing for Cowher? Was it awesome? And Carnell Lake was like, Sure, yeah.
She could tell right away, like it was
yeah. It was really obvious. Like he was, you know, Carnell Lake was just trying to, he wasn't going to sit there and gush about him like he was God's gift to football players.
That is
or anything.
funny.
Because Cowher was a different duck, man. Yeah. He was kind of odd. He was a little bit of a,
still is.
He had some, I remember Chris Brown used to tell me, he was always intrigued by Cowher when he would stand in front of the team, would like stand on his tippy toes as he was talking to the team, like almost like some psychological need to be bigger,
have the high
like
ground,
the peacock almost or something. Yeah, and like so, I think a lot of what Cowher did that people admired from a distance seemed really contrived to guys on the team, like sticking his jaw out and all that stuff. I think they thought it was a little bit more shtick than substance. So yeah, I think that just remember the Steelers, whatever the perception is, it's not necessarily the same on the inside of the organization.
Up next, if Deshaun Watson hadn't demanded a trade, would he be starting on Sunday? That's next.
I'm Erin Ryan, political commentator, comedy writer, and host of Crooked Media's Hysteria.
And I'm co-host Alyssa Mastromonaco, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff for President Obama.
Each week on Hysteria, we are joined by a team of hilariously opinionated ladies to discuss the headlines from the serious to the absurd.
We cover everything from reproductive rights to rom-coms and break down the political news of the week and cultural stories that affect women's lives.
New episodes of Hysteria drop every Thursday. Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
106.5 The Wolf and Hollywood Casino presents Howlin' at Hollywood with George Burge, Saturday, September 18th. Our Howlin' series is back and we can't wait. This is a free show for 21 and over. Join us outside and under the stars with live country music from George Burge at Hollywood Casino. It's Howlin' at Hollywood. Brought to you by Lynch Real Estate, Saturday, September 18th. For more info, go to HollywoodCasinoKansas.com. You must be 21.
Have you been thinking about purchasing a new or used car? Well, now is a great time with financing through Mazuma Credit Union and their competitive rates. Check out Mazuma.org/auto and let Mazuma Credit Union help you find the car of your dreams. Federally insured by NCUA.